Hello. Today we're in the garden with Lafayette Parish Master Gardeners, Gail Wakefield and Juanita Morrow. They both attended an LUS presentation on Rainbarrels, and you can see what happened from there. And today we've asked them here to demonstrate to you how to make a rain barrel at home.
After today's demonstration, you're going to say, "Come on, rain." You're not going to say, "Rain, rain, go away, come again another day." Hopefully you're going to do a rain dance because you're going to enjoy this so much. I'm going to show you how to construct it. And the first thing you're going to have to do is have a 1-inch drill attachment to drill your holes. You can see on this barrel that you're going to need one at the top for your overflow and then one at the bottom for your actual water source. So, Juanita, we're going to get started on that first. She's going to help me hold it because it kind of tends to roll around. Yeah, almost. There we go.
And as you can see, these barrels are quite sturdy. You're going to have to put, a little bit of weight to get through them sometimes.
This is a 55-gallon drum that was a food-grade barrel. You can get anything similar to that. The one behind Janae was, what was?
I think a 30-gallon.
30-gallon, and what was in that?
It wasn't chemicals or anything like that. It was just one left over from a food source, I think.
Yeah. So just go about a quarter of a way around and kind of close to the bottom. Drill another hole. If I have it on the right setting.
And she's drilling that hole about 4 inches up from the bottom. This is where your hose is attached to actually use the water.
All right, after you have your 2 holes drilled, you're going to need a 3/4 inch spigot that you're going to screw into your 1-inch hole. It's a little bit smaller, so it's going to fit nice and snug on there. Then take some Teflon tape right there and just take a little piece and wrap it around the inside threads. And then you're going to take a 1 by 3/4 inch bushing. I didn't know what a bushing was, but when you go to the hardware store, it'll say it on the end of the box. And all you're doing is screwing the bushing on the inside of your spigot. And then to make it nice and tight and waterproof, you're going to take some marine sealer. And let me suggest that you put on an apron or some old clothes and some rubber gloves, because this is very, very messy and goopy. And just goop it around the inside, and it's going to take several hours to dry. I'm not going to do that today because it's just a little bit too long. But anyway, you're going to do that on the top. When you put your rain barrel out, you want to make sure that the spigot is open so that if you have a hard rain and you have too much water, it's going to have a way to get out. Don't leave it closed because it'll just all bubble up out of the top. So make sure you leave that one open. And the one on the bottom, you want to make sure that you leave it closed when you're not using it so that you don't lose your water. After that, you're going to need a lid, and we've already drilled the holes on the lid with a 2-inch drill attachment. Okay, the lid is going to keep the debris out, the mosquitoes out, and then on top of that, you're going to put a little piece of either landscape fabric or screen, anything that's going to allow the water to flow through but keep it nice and tight. And then this one came with an O-ring that's going to secure it even better. All right, after you have your 2 holes drilled in, your 4 or 5 holes, however many you want in your lid, then you're going to have to consider where you want to place it. You want to place it underneath a downspout that's going to get a lot of water at the lowest pitch of your roof, and you want to raise it. You want to put 3 or 4 concrete blocks or bricks or something to raise it so that the water will have a place to flow out. And what else did we talk about?
We want to talk about the safety too. You're talking about putting it
Yes.
up on cinder blocks.
Yes.
You know, you want to pick a very level site. This is going to weigh, when it's filled with water, a gallon of water is 8 pounds times 50.
55.
You have, you know, tremendous, if you have grandchildren, if you have pets, you know, you want to make sure that it's very, very secure, as is the top, you know, is for safety issue for children.
Now you can shorten your downspout, or you can take it off like I did and just hang a rain chain. I hung a rain chain down so that it just slows the water down and makes it look pretty, watching it go into your barrel. Why do you want to do this? You want to do it because you're going to save money on water. You're going to conserve a vital natural resource. You're going to reduce the strain on the municipal water system. And your plants are going to love it. My plants love it after a nice hard rain. So when I have a lot of rain in my barrel, I make sure I use that.
And that's an important point. You don't want to just be collecting water. You actually want to use the water so that the next time the rain comes, you have some room in your rain barrel.
That's right.
To catch the renewed rain. You mentioned that the water is really good. It's salt water. It doesn't have any of the chlorine or the salts that are associated with our tap water. Might be a good point to make too, that we do not want to use this water for drinking water.
That's right.
It's used for landscape purposes. So just keep that point in mind too. And you can also use, I've seen people use different methods of elevating them. You know, besides we mentioned cinder blocks.
And then also you can use that, the overflow valve too. I put a little short piece of hose on mine, and I have a little fountain right next to it, so that any excess water that we have goes out into my fountain. So that keeps it supplied with, extra water.
Now, I noticed you had one here without a top. In that case, what would you do?
Well,
the top is at home. I just didn't want to bring it, for demonstration.
But I do have one.
You do have one without a top?
This one has no top.
Right, and I just made a top. You know, whatever you can use, secure it with like some of the metal strapping and flexible screening, because sometimes, the top is damaged, you don't have access to a top. So you create one of your own. You could actually, I'm sure, figure out some way to secure plywood to it too, to strap it down with clamps and make things.
But if you don't have a top, I think that they make, probably Shaston Brothers or places like that, there's a little pie type thing that you can put in the water, and it kills mosquitoes if you're worried about the mosquito situation. I
was thinking more of a safety issue, but we do need to talk about the larva sides too, which are the little donuts that you're talking about. Sometimes despite the screening, you get some larva in it. Mosquito larvae in there. The dunks are inexpensive. You're only using a little 1/4 inch portion of one. I think it's every 2 or 3 months. They don't harm wildlife. They don't harm people. So you're not creating any chemicals in your water. Some people have had problems with algae, and we've discussed the old easiest way seems like to be to put a piece of copper wiring in it. But there are also chemical packets available at Pond Supply stores that if you happen to have, a severe problem with algae growth, you can use that.
And another thing that we have learned is that you pour a little bit of fertilizer in there. So every time you water your plants are getting a little bit more food. little fertilizer.
Right. I've put, made compost tea in one, and that seems to work, very, very well. You can put it in a
Compost
watering
tea would
can.
work,
Yeah, I just drain into the watering can and give anything that is, stressed out a little bit, a little extra boost. Now, have you ever hooked up more than one?
No, we haven't gotten that far. We're still on the single barrel method here.
I know it's possible, and what you're doing is using
But I've seen them stacked or side by side, and it seems very easy, just connected with a PVC pipe the same way, drill the holes and connect them, and you can have water.
Right, I've
fill
seen
up
people
2
actually
barrels.
use, you see, if you take a piece of hose and put it on your overflow spigot, and then you redirect it to your
That's a good
next,
idea. That's a
your
good
next
idea.
barrel, they hook up 2 or 3. It seems like 3 is kind of a good number for a typical garden. I'm like you, I've just got one and consider myself a big success. But some people are evidently really getting into it. There are people that we talked about elevating it. There are people that, especially I think, that have 2 or 3 hooked together who use pumps to get the water out. This is not, and we might explain that, yes, this is not a pressurized system like our hose systems are. You cannot use it for a sprinkler. You're using it just with your hose. You're using it to fill up a water can or something like that. You're not going to be able to project. Now with the pump, you can. And
the pump will make it go a little faster.
You can get a little bit of pressure.
But the barrels that we got were this beautiful blue color, and we had our Master Gardener artist in residence who came up with an idea, well, let's paint them and let's make them pretty. And so that's what Juanita's done here.
And we're going to get Juanita to tell us how you do this process too.
Okay. You're painting on plastic, so it's hard to get your paint to bond to plastic. What I've done here is put 3 coats of gesso, and gesso is a product that artists use to put on canvases to make the paint adhere to whatever surface you're using. But I used 3 coats of gesso, and after that I used acrylic paints, and it's just normal acrylic paints.
What about the primer, the Valspar primer?
I do that last.
Oh, you don't do that first?
Yeah. I tried doing several things just to make sure that the paint will adhere to the plastic, and the primer works pretty good, but if you scratch it, it'll mar it, and I don't like that. So what I've done is put coats and coats and coats of acrylic paints, and that works better. If you have a thick layer of paint, you're not going to be able to scratch it as easily as without anything. And then after you finish the painting process, you let it dry for a couple of days. Then you can put the primer on just to make sure that the colors stay bright and pretty and stays like that. And you can get your inspiration from anywhere. You can go online, you can go to Pinterest, I think it is, or magazines, some of the magazines that the Master Gardeners.
Or decide where you're going to put it in your yard.
First, yes, and then that will determine
and kind of
the colors.
Decorate it to go whether it's against brick or my daughter painted mine with a lot of banana leaves, because that's the corner where I have mine. I have a lot of bananas in the corner, and that's how she painted that. So there's a lot of, and you don't have to paint a scene.
You don't have to paint it.
You can just
We just
have
tend to
fun
get
with
creative.
it. So just get creative
Now,
with
you let me back up a couple of steps. You said you were layering acrylics. How long do you dry between each layer?
It doesn't take very long for acrylics to dry, but I like to maybe 3 or 4 hours between coats.
Give it a good.
Yeah.
And
So
about how many coats do you have?
Probably about 3 or 4 layers, just to make sure that it bonds. And it's fun.
It's fun.
And it gives you art in the garden.
In the garden, it gives you a little focal point in the garden. Okay, now we can go back. We wanted to be sure that we had time to describe to you thoroughly how to make the processes. And now we're going to actually take a few steps back and discuss a few reasons why, other than if you want a gorgeous little art object in your yard, that you might want to consider using rain barrels.
Well, like I said, your plants are going to love it. after a rain, my plants are just alive, you know, with electricity, it seems like. But if you're on a pump, a water well pump, you're going to save on electricity. If you're on city water, you're going to reduce the strain of the municipal water system. You're going to just conserve this natural resource that we have. You're going to recycle whatever your water.
And I know that Bayou Vermilionville, the Bayou Vermilionville District is working with LUS in supporting
The
their
watershed.
rain there because of the watershed, which you might explain to.
Well, I don't really know too much about that.
The problem is when we get the torrential rains that we tend to get often in Louisiana, is the systems are flushing into our natural water systems, and they carry with that fertilizers, which create a problem in the waterways and disturb and distress, in many cases kill the fish when they get an algae bloom, because especially of the fertilizer runoff that happens in these rains. So we really want, what they're trying to get people to think about is capturing your rainwater and using it on your lawn, using it in your landscaping, delaying the runoff, right, creating little rain gardens we've been talking about. You've been hearing that pop up all over too, and it's all just an attempt to contain and slow the water so we don't get these tremendous flushes of fertilizer in our natural waterways.
But you can water your plants, you can fill your fountains, you can fill your pools, you can wash your car with it. And your pond. Fill up your fish pond.
And you are collecting. We need to do the numbers because it's really impressive.
Yes. In a 1-inch rain event on a 1,000 square foot roof, you can get over 500 gallons of water. So that's a lot.
Right.
So it might be feasible to get more than one barrel.
Oh,
we talked about
in one of those heavy.
Because I know if mine gets full, I can use it at least 3 times to water the containers around my backyard.
I would, from what I've read, and you get into the average, what's the average garden here? But it seems like 3 will, help support a typical garden. And then if you have, a lot, it seems like, you're moving up onto the 6 rain barrel capacity. But it's fun to envision.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
That's fun. What I said. You'll be doing a rain dance after you do this, instead of saying rain, rain, go away.
Right. Now, we want to refer people to the LUS website, because their rain barrel program is still ongoing. It is open until July the 21st, and the rain barrel pickup will be July the 27th, and they are selling the rain barrels. If you are not a do-it-yourself person, they are providing rain barrels at wholesale prices as a courtesy to the community, and you can access the LUS or the Lafayette Consolidated Government website for further information on that.
But you must be an LUS customer.
No, well, they're saying no.
Oh.
The first round was
just for LUS?
It was a discounted price to the first 300 people that purchased. And now they were saying on the website, it's saying that, they're opening,
that's good to know.
To at the wholesale price of $55. They have different colors, gray, black, red, and blue. They are food grade barrels, and they are prepared. So you don't have to do anything. There's a little service fee, but it's very reasonable. We also want to refer you to the LUS rain barrel brochure, which is coming out of Lisa Mahoney's office, and she's the one that presented the initial program
At a garden talk.
At our Nelson Center.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that got everybody all enthused about rain barrels. We might talk too about maintaining your barrels.
Well, it seems like I read that maybe once a year or so you should uncover it and maybe, wait until most of your water is gone and uncover it and then, kind of rinse it out, clean it out, because if it's coming off of your roof, you're going to get a little bit of, the asphalt runoff that maybe will seep through. So it's a good idea to clean it out every once in a while.
And what about if we're having hard winter weather? Because that's something I haven't looked up either.
Well, I don't know. We haven't gone through
We
a
haven't had
harsh winter.
But I wondered if it was.
Some of it would, I think the outside would freeze, but I don't think it could freeze a solid.
I don't think it would freeze
No.
solid, but I even wondered about people that I've seen some that have the PVC rather than the brass, and I wondered about them. If you actually had to drain it
Right.
below your spigot, but I don't know that either. That's a point somebody's going to have to do some internet searching. Yeah, some internet searching, because if I'd have thought of it before the show, I would have tried to find out. But
Oh, and I wanted to say, make sure you put some of the marine sealer around the outside too. I see it's done over there. I forgot to mention that. That just makes sure that it's nice and watertight, and you don't have any leaks or anything.
and actually, I did when I did mine. My son did it, and he used washers, and that seems to be holding fine.
I couldn't find the 1-inch washers.
Yes, I know. Yeah, I don't know
For
where
some
he got
reason-
them, but yes. But he, if you're able to find the
The
1-inch
washer will work.
washers, yeah, you don't. In my experience, you don't have to use the solvent. So we have. Let's kind of review the steps again for everyone who might have missed one or two of the steps.
Well, when you get your barrel, make sure you wash it out real well, dry it real well, and then your 2 spigots on the top, your overflow valve, and your bottom spigot
Oh,
is
what
going to
size?
be 1 inch.
1 inch.
1-inch drill bit and a 3/4 inch hose bib.
Okay.
This one.
Okay.
And then hose bib. Okay. And then on the inside, you're going to put a 1 by 3/4 inch bushing. And this one's metal, but the one I had gotten before was plastic, and that works just as well. And after you screw in the thing, this is going to, you put a little Teflon tape to make sure that it's nice and sturdy. And then screw it on there. And then either put the washer, like Janae said you can, or you can just put the marine sealer. And then this is going to be, you can either leave this open, or you can put a little piece of hose to drain it, let it go wherever you want it to. And then the bottom one is going to be where your water source will be to water your plants. And then drill in the top with a 2-inch drill bit, your holes in the lid at the top. Get some kind of screen that will allow the water to come through. Put that on top with the O-ring. And you're set. Lift it up on some concrete blocks. Make sure it's kind of level in a safe place, and pray for a rain dance.
And we hope that we have encouraged you to make your own rain barrel. It really is a fun project. I think you'll enjoy it when you get, into it. I think you will enjoy using the water. We also want to be conscious that we're getting into the time of year that our municipal water systems are stressed. We want to remind everyone we're on the odd, even schedule, to please pay attention to that. We do not ever want to stress a water system to the point that firefighters are struggling to get water pressure, which is the purpose of the system. We want to urge you to mulch well to conserve water. We want to urge you, if you're using an irrigation system, to use the drip systems, which are so much more efficient and save our resources. And we also want to invite you to our garden talk the 3rd Saturday of July. That's July the 20th at the Aaron Nelson Horticulture Center, where our producer Nancy Ann Rowe will be talking about plants that store their own water. How appropriate for this program. But you might know them as the fat plants that have the big old bulbs at the bottom. They're the caduciform plants like your adeniums or your Madagascar palms that have the big old storage organ actually in the plant. She will be speaking at 10 o'clock at the R. Nelson Horticulture Center. The garden talk at the Grass and Rock Shop. The second Saturday garden talk is herbs featuring Teresa Grissom, and that is on July the 13th. And get busy making your rain barrel. When you see us at the Plant Fest, bring us a picture. We would love to see what your imagination and creativity has created in your garden.
That's it.
One point on improvement.
Yes,
You did not mention the pH of the water, city water,
I know.
versus the pH